Jay, what protocols have been put into place for this road trip that are different from a road trip that you would have taken before the pandemic?
Yeah, there's a lot. There's been a lot more planning relative to it. We're going to take two buses from here to the Tucson airport, two buses from when we arrive to the hotel or field, and then we'll make two trips on game day and just split the team in half to eliminate spread and eliminate any potential contact tracing. We're wearing the N95 surgical masks on the plane and out and about in the hotel. We'll have all meals delivered to the hotel and individualized as far as that goes. And then I think you'll see a lot of things relative to the dugout, similar that you saw here in our first two home weekends, where the social distancing and the things that we're doing will remain in place. We certainly want to keep as many of our team on the field as we possibly can, and we've got a, knock on wood, a really good run here of no positives, and we want to keep it that way.
Sense. And how would you describe the way that your players have handled all of these challenges so far?
I've been very proud and very pleased, wherever we have told them to step it up or do better, they have. It's been very little drama, to be honest with you, since we've been back practicing as a team. We've made some big concessions relative to not using our locker room. That way, nobody's in there more than a 15-minute period, next to somebody else. And we've only basically used that as a restroom and access to the training room. They've kind of gotten accustomed to, showing up dressed and those types of things. They've handled that outstanding. We're spreading out on game days, putting some of the pitchers in the stands. I don't feel like that's, curtailed the energy that we like them to have in terms of enthusiasm for playing. And I think they've done a great job. It's just one of those things you never want to let your guard down though. It's like, the previous game success doesn't have anything to do with the next one. And I kind of feel like COVID is the same way. You have to be very diligent in your efforts.
So obviously this weekend is a little bit different than the first two that you've had. Is there anything specific you look for when you head into a situation like this where you're playing a few different teams over the course of a few days?
Well, the reason we're going to this tournament, and I feel like it's one of the best tournaments in the country, A, in terms of how it's run and put on, and B, it has an NCAA tournament feel to it. And that's something that I want our players to experience in terms of the quality of the teams, in terms of a neutral site venue. It's a great ballpark. And I know they're really looking forward to it. I think it's unique where we're playing 4-day games. We're the first game of the day, all 4 days, which I actually like that because it's going to allow us to take batting practice and be in a little bit more of a normal routine. Whereas if you're playing the night game, you don't get a chance to do that. And then really it's always going to come back to the play. We'll adjust some things today relative to, it's our first time going on the road, but a lot of these guys have been in our program for a few years. We had a couple of successful road trips last year where we won some close games against good opponents in the Tony Gwynn Classic and then at Texas. So I feel like some of these guys have been through it, and we'll rely on them to use their experience and maturity, because really what it all comes down to is just being ready to play and, making sure that we put ourselves in the best position to be ready to play when the game starts.
You mentioned you have a lot of players that have been on these trips. You have a lot of young guys that haven't. What's maybe the message to them about going on their first road trip and getting out of Tucson for the first time in a while?
Yeah, I think just being mature in the approach. I think honestly, the protocols that we're in, there's very little drama, in terms of you're not going out with your families. There's not this or that. We're eating, we're taking BP, or we're playing the game, or they're doing homework after and they're eating again. It's going to be very militant in that regard. And so I think in a lot of ways it's going to mimic how it's been at home, because the socialization, fraternization, really tightening our circle, a lot of those things will be the same. Now, with that being said, this is the first time for everything. I think one good thing with some of the players that we have, as a lot of them have played in some high level events and have gone on planes to fly across the country and play baseball. So I don't think it'll be their first rodeo in that regard. And then we'll really rely on the leadership, and I mentioned some of the roommate pairings to help some of those guys along with things.
So what's your kind of day-to-day life like these days? Is it pretty much like you're either at the ballpark or you're at your apartment?
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of bouncing around from campus to work out, back home for class, school or baseball at the field, and back home, which it took some getting used to, but that's the routine now, and that's that's what we've been doing.
Sure. I'm sure you've faced Branden Boissiere in practice many times. What makes him so difficult to get out?
Yeah, it's definitely nice not having to face him every single day anymore, and I think he's just a very mature hitter, and I think talent-wise, he's very talented. I think he kind of thinks along with you as a pitcher. There's not a whole lot that's going to fool him. He's going to get a good swing off on a lot of pitches. So
I know winning obviously helps a lot, but what's the general feeling of the pitching staff coming off of this last weekend sweep after splitting the first series, and what kind of confidence boost did that maybe provide for you guys?
I think that was really good for us, just to be able to close out some close games. It's something that we've struggled with these past couple of years, and I think just with the talent level that we have on the staff, that's something that we can't necessarily let happen this year, and I think this is a good start for us moving forward.
Obviously, you're going to be playing a few different teams this weekend. That changes from the first two series. How much does that maybe change the approach for you guys on the mound, especially maybe the relievers, when you kind of go into a series or going into a weekend knowing you're going to play some different teams?
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's really about us. We don't really look too much into who we're playing. If we make our pitches and work ahead, limit free bases, that's kind of the recipe for success for us. So I think as long as we just focus on that, we'll be in a good situation.
Hey there, Branden. You started the season 0 for 6. You're 14 for 23. Since then, what's been working for you at the plate?
Yeah, I say for me, it's just sticking to my approach and doing my thing in the box. I've been working really hard in the off season as well as in the spring. So I think it's starting to come together, and I've just been really working on my vision at the plate as well, getting my foot down in time to see the ball, and it's really been beneficial for me.
When you talk about your approach, how would you describe what that is?
Yeah, I just like sitting fastball. I feel like when I get my foot down in time to get down for the fastball, it helps me to adjust to off-speed pitches easily. By getting it down and, trying to start my swing a little bit later, it helps me to lay off pitches that are out of the zone, that are not my pitches to swing at.
Other than just kind of getting away from Tucson and going on the road for the first time, what are you looking forward to about this challenge you guys have ahead of you?
I'm looking forward to competing with all my different teammates. I think we've really done a good job preparing, and we're starting to play well as a team together. So I'm really excited to see, how it goes against some really good competition.